Good morning. We are going to go live across the socials with a very short episode of the podcast, and this is going to be answering one of the questions off our boys, but we've actually got this question a couple of times this week. So we're going to start this episode in 2 minutes, guys. If you're coming into this one live, let us know that you're here for your Monday morning, or if you're on this side of the world where it is actually Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the boys in the UK, the US, Canada. We're going to start this one in 1 minute. And so my goal here is to help you to understand a little bit more about the changes that may or may not have happened to your weight this week. So if you're coming into this one, you know what to do. Get down into the comments, let us know that you're here, and we're going to start this one up in 1 minute, and we are ready to rocking roll. What's going on? Good morning and good afternoon and good evening to all of our crew. We're going to start this up in 30 seconds, and then we're going to get straight into it. What's going on, Tez? How are you, mate? Lovely to have you guys here. Cara, what is going on, girlfriend? Kelly. Hey, girl. Hello, Marie. How are you, lovely bones? Michaela's in the house. Good morning, Michaela. Alana, what is going on, Alana? I hope you are here. And who else we got? Boys, I might just tag one of the fellas in the comments who actually asked for this one to be done. So let me get that done, and then we are really ready to rock and roll. So, all right, guys. So are we good? I'm going to bring in a couple of crews here on TikTok and Instagram, and then we're good to go. All right, so I think we're ready, guys. Here we go on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Happy Monday. I hope you're having a beautiful start to your Monday. If you are indeed in that side of the world, the Australian side, if you're on this side of the world, happy Sunday and happy Father's Day to all the North American fathers. Guys, I want to answer a question that I've received, I think 3 or 4 times this week, okay? And this is the reason I wanted to go live on this question rather than just answering the question privately. Okay, so here's the question. Why, when I did everything right, I nailed my nutrition. I absolutely smashed my gym sessions this week. In fact, I trained 3, 4, 5 times, and I was really, really active. Why is it that I stepped on the scale and I've put on weight? I've put on a kilo. How does that happen? So I want you to give me a yes in the comments if you know exactly that feeling, or if that happened to you this week. Now, it's the most frustrating thing when you see changes in your weight, but you can't really explain why it's happened, particularly when you think you've done everything right and you're just like, this sucks. Like, man, I just want to see the scale move in the right direction. Even if it's just a little bit, I just want to see it move in the right direction. So if that's you, that's why I'm here, okay, to explain away what is going on. Right, so the first thing I want to say is to this idea of I did everything right. Okay, so this is the first part I want to talk about. It's not the main part of this, but I want to just talk about this first part first. I did everything right. What does that actually mean? I think what happens is when we are on a weight loss journey, and I'm sure everyone would agree, it's emotional, right? It's fucking emotional. Like, there's ups, there's downs. You feel like you're killing it some days. Some days you're full of energy. Some days you go to the gym and you're really strong. Other days you're feeling tired and lethargic, like you're hauling your ass in there. And then some days you feel super, super motivated. And then other days you feel like, oh my God, I am struggling so hard that the best thing I can hope for is to actually show up. It becomes this real roller coaster, all right? I think the frustration for most people is when they feel like they're doing everything right, and it's not coming off for them. It feels like they're losing control, and they're assigning this level of like, I'm a failure, I'm doing the wrong thing. So I hope this little training, this little micro training helps alleviate that. One of the golden rules of fat loss is that you will never, ever, ever lose weight in a linear fashion. At the start of your weight loss journey, and particularly if you have a lot of weight to lose, the weight will come off fairly quickly and it will come off kind of like steeply at the start. But then what will happen is things will start to plateau a little bit, right? They'll start to slow down a little bit, and we hit we call them fat loss plateaus. So why is that actually happening? Well, number one, the primary reason that it's happening is because most people, when they're just started a transformation, they're like, oh, I've got to make this work. I'm in so much pain. I hate myself so much. And they're really, really motivated. Then by the time they've lost 10, 15 kilograms or say 20 pounds, the drive is not as hard as it was at the start. It's not as compliant as it was at the start. And that's because you've already got yourself away from this place and you're like 5, 10, 15 kilos down, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm not as desperate. Maybe I don't have to cut as many. Maybe I can let a few more beers creep back in. So the number one reason is that we stopped doing what actually worked at the start. And that's just human nature because we're not in as much pain as we were at the start. The second thing is we adapt, okay? I want you to imagine what would happen if you kept losing weight at the rate of 2 kilos a week. So let's say that you're 30 kilos overweight. Let's just say you're 30 kilos overweight. Well, at the start, it would be advantageous for you to lose fat at the rate of 2 kilos a week, right? Because that would mean that in 5 weeks, you'd be 10 kilos down, and that would be a really, really good thing. But that would also mean that you'd be back at your goal weight within 15 weeks. What happens the following 10 weeks after that when you lose another 20 kilos? Now you're underweight. So this would be a pretty big threat to survival. So one of the reasons that we don't continually lose weight in a linear fashion is because the body has protective mechanisms that it uses, one of which is the up and down of your metabolism to try to slow down the amount of calories that you burn. Okay? And that puts you into these fat loss plateaus. So I think this is probably just important to understand the framework of why fat loss plateaus actually happen. And if you've been through a transformation or you're in transformation now, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, now with that out of the way, I want to talk about why might it be that your weight has actually gone up. So why would it be that you have lost a little bit of maybe waist circumference, so the fat's coming in a little bit on your belly, but your weight has gone up? Why would that actually happen? Now, the initial thing that would probably come up is, could it be that I'm building some muscle mass? And the short answer to that is yes. If you are going into the gym, you're training in the gym, particularly if you're a new person who is new to the gym, fairly novice, hasn't lifted for a long time, you would expect that those early 3 to 6 months, you're going to be gaining more muscle quicker than you will ever gain it again in your entire transformation. That's because your body is going from completely no resistance training at all into doing resistance training and then realizing, holy shit, if I don't slap some muscle on Jared or Kelly, what's going to end up happening is I'm not going to be able to continue lifting these weights. So one reason that you're going to gain weight from periods is going to be that you're actually adding muscle. But that's probably not what's going on a very short-term basis. So what I mean is, let's say that you lost 1 centimeter to 2 off your waist this week, but you were maybe 1 kilo heavier or 0.5 kilo heavier. I think there's 2 important things that are going on. And listen up, because if you understand this, it's going to release a lot of the tension that you're going to feel around failure and that you're doing the wrong thing. Because what a lot of guys do is they've had this feeling that they're doing the wrong thing, so they change what they're doing when actually You were doing the exact right thing. Like things were going perfectly, then you changed them as a cause of you changing them, then they started going wrong. So let me explain the high likelihood of the two things that you're doing. Number one is that you are only measuring your weight once a week. Okay, so when you think about what weight is, I'm looking if I've got all my figurines here, right? So if I could like piece it all together for us, when you step on the scales, you're going to have fat, you're going to have muscle, so you can actually have body composition stuff, fat, muscle, bone, skin, blood, etc., right? When you step on the scales, all of that is going to be weighed. In addition to that, you're going to have poo, the stuff in your gut. At the end of your gut, poo, wee, pee, and then you're also going to have the stuff that's higher up in the stomach that's not quite poo yet, which is food and fluid that you've drunk. All of those things are going to weigh something on the scale. If I take this bottle, which is I believe 1.5 liters, 1.2 liters. If I take this bottle, which is 1.2 liters, and I weigh myself now and I'm 80 kilograms, if I drink this bottle, in 1 minute after I've drunk the bottle, I will be 81.2 kilograms. I will weigh exactly 1.2 kilograms heavier as a consumption of the fact that, as a product of the fact that this is not outside of me anymore. It's now inside of me, therefore it weighs something on the scales. So when you take a snapshot of your weight and you only do it once a week, think of how much variation there could actually be. Have you got food in your gut? Have you done a poo yet? How much wee's in your bladder? How much food's in your digestive system? How hydrated are you? Have you lost fat? Have you gained muscle? For this reason, and most coaches don't recommend doing this because for a lot of people, it becomes emotionally too much of a roller coaster. But if you are not attached to the scales, I'm going to recommend that you do something, which is what I do. Okay? If you are not attached emotionally to the scales, if you're someone that almost like your whole personal values and your steadiness of your mind is like goes to shit as soon as you read whatever's on the scales, don't do this. But if you're not like that and you can handle the emotional roller coaster component, then you should weigh yourself at the same time every single day. The reason is because the more weights that you take, the less chance you've got of there being an outlying value. So in the case of, let's say you, Jared, because this question come from you, and I know you're watching, let's say that you literally just happen to have a slightly higher protein, more filling meal, and that led to you not pushing as much poop through your gut by the same time as it did this time last week. Well, that might be an extra 300-400 grams as an example. And let's say that you were just a little bit more hydrated. That might be an extra 300-500 grams, which is another half a kilo. Bang. Simple explanation is right there in front of you. So the way you would do this, if you're going to take my advice and you're not attached to the scales, right? Some people can happily jump on the scales and they don't care. Cool. If this is you, what I would do, I could show you on an app, but basically I have a set of Bluetooth scales. And so when I jump on the scale, it just sends the measurement automatically to the phone, right? This is a great way to do it. What this will give you is a weekly average. And what you're going to see is that over the course of a week, your weekly average might go up, as the variance might be 1.5 kilos. You might have 1.5 kilos of variance over the course of a week. So if you just happen to, let's say that you're taking your measurements every Sunday, first thing when you wake up, if one of those variants is slightly out, that's going to simply explain it away. However, if you're taking it Monday at 5 a.m. or whenever you get up, Monday 5 a.m., Tuesday 5 a.m., Thursday 5 a.m., 7 days at 5 a.m., and then your check-in for that week with your coach, by the way, if you're not in Better Body Academy, what the fuck are you doing? Send me a message. If you instead take the average of those 7 days, you get one number that's an average of 7 days. And then the next week, you compare that to the average of 7 days. And then the next week, you compare that to the average of 7 days. That's going to be a far more reliable indicator. Does this make sense, guys? Can you please let me know in the comments if this makes sense? Because I think what a lot of us are doing, and there's nothing wrong with this, just not going to be the most accurate way to do it. If you're weighing once a week, then you're hoping that everything is the same to give you accurate feedback. And I can tell you something. If you've ever had a DEXA scan, which is a body composition scan, you will know how much these can vary based on the machine you use, the time of day, the amount of fluid hydration you've had, whether you've been to the toilet, and all these different things that can just come out to be completely different. So that's the first reason. You're probably only weighing once a week. So I would get in the habit personally, if you're not too attached to the scales, of weighing every single day and taking the weekly average from week 1, the weekly average from week 2, the weekly average from week 3, and just put that in on a Sunday. And Jared says, copy, that makes perfect sense. Now, the second part is more to not human error, okay? This is more to the high likelihood of what's happening. Let's say that I went for a run today and I jarred my knee, right? So something happened locally to my knee while I was running. What happens to my knee as a consequence in the next day? My knee swells up, doesn't it? Right? So what does swelling up mean? By the way, Black Falcon asking me if I'm a vegan. No, it's the stupidest diet I've ever heard of. Anyway, what does swelling up mean? Swelling up means that water, fluid, is rushing to the knee. Yeah? So the knee, as a consequence, is swelling. Yeah? Okay. So I want you to think about what happens when you go to the gym. Can anyone tell me in the comments, because we've got like literally between TikTok, Instagram, and the Facebooks and YouTube, we've got like hundreds of people watching on live. Can someone tell me in the comments, what is the physiological point of going to the gym? Don't say build muscle. Of course it's build muscle. By way of what? What has to happen before you can build muscle? What are we actually trying to do? When we go to the gym, what are we actually trying to do? Let's get into the comments and let me know what we're actually trying to do when we build muscle. Yep, of course. Confidence. Yeah, we're trying to build confidence, of course. But what are we actually trying to do when we go and I'm trying not to say the word. What are we doing when we go and lift weights? What we're doing is tearing or breaking down muscle fibers. So I want you to think about this is what your muscle looks like. And then you go into the gym. Yep. Okay, Kelly, you're onto something here. So you go into the gym and you do a bicep curl, right? This is what the bicep curl looks like for those of you watching the video. It stretches and then I contract it under the force of tension. It strengthens and then I contract it. It strengthens. All these lengthening and extensions under the force of contraction lead to micro tears in the muscle. So just like my knee that swells up like a ball as a consequence of localized damage to the knee, what's happening is when you go into the gym, you're creating these little micro tears in the muscle, and those micro tears, the body perceives as what? Damage, right? Think about it. And then what happens is you've got these damaged muscles, and then you need to come in with your nutrition. Think of nutrition like building blocks, right? Like bricks. Or for those of you that know anything about concreting, because my dad's a concreter, my brother's a concreter, so I kind of know a bit about that. Think of it as coming in as the cement renderer, and you've got all these tears in the muscle itself, but now you're going to come in with your nutrition and you're going to fix those tears and repair the tears, right? So here's what's happening. This is the reason that if you just keep working out but you don't have any days off, the body doesn't actually get any time to repair the tears because you just keep breaking it, right? Now, if you're on steroids, right, well, like a lot of guys are, a lot of girls are, the reason that you can go to the gym more frequently and you get less sore is because taking steroids improves your ability to repair the damaged tissue before you can train again, right? Does this make sense? Repairs the damage. So let's go back to your weight. The reason, the high likelihood is if you have done inverted commas, everything right, it's not really a thing, but let's say what you're trying to say is you trained really hard this week. The high likelihood of you training really hard, someone that's going to the gym 3 to 5 days a week and really lifting as heavy as they possibly can, the high likelihood is that you are going to have localized damage to your muscle. And what that means is that the body is going to react by drawing more fluid into the muscle. Ironically, we call that the pump. So it's all coming together and you're starting to realize, oh, wait a second. So that's a good thing? Yes, it's a good thing. If you're weighing more, this is a good thing because what's happening is you're tearing the muscle. You're therefore you're sending the signal, your brain's sending the signal to bring water into that muscle to repair the muscle so it can then grow. And muscle growth is effectively the tearing and rebuilding, And if we do this consistently enough over time with adequate nutrition in between, what do you think happens? The muscle grows. The belly, particularly the belly of the muscle, grows thicker and bigger, but that's going to weigh more on the scales. So the reason that you're probably weighing more, even if you've had a really good week, is not a bad thing. It's because you're inflamed, and as a consequence, your body is drawing fluid to repair that damaged tissue so that you can actually grow muscle. So if you have had a really strong, powerful week in the gym, you've been maybe increasing your calories, you've had a little bit of extra carbohydrate, all of these things are going to lead to you building muscle, retaining a bit more fluid, and then effectively the scales going up. Does this make sense, guys? So hopefully that's a good round out. We've had a lot of people stick around for the entirety of this live. I hope this makes sense. I'm going to finish off the live there. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast coming into you with another episode. Go and have a beautiful week, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Okay, podcast finished. Is there anyone on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok that actually wants to ask a question more so to do with what's been covered in this conversation? So Jared, in your case, given you're the person that asked it, I would say, dude, that you meant I don't think your gym was as hectic last week. So I'd say it's probably either one of two things for you, bro. It's probably that you were just a little bit slacker on your nutrition, which led to some rebound weight gain, particularly if you increase your amount of carbohydrate. The moment that you have carbohydrate come back in, it tends to attract more water. This is not a bad thing. It's not permanent. It's not fat, right? So all of a sudden you've just gone up a little bit on the scales. And I'm also going to guess, Jared, that you're probably only weighing once a week. So it could have just been like an outlier measurement that is a consequence of not all the variables being the same. Does that make sense? Team, any other questions that you've got? Hopefully that makes sense. Girls, what about you girls? Does that make sense? Makes absolute sense. Kerry said, hey, Kerry, appreciate you. Alana, appreciate you being in our academy. I hope it helped. And any of these questions that you've got, I will come in and answer it. If it's a great question that needs to be kind of discussed on a larger basis, I'll come in and do a podcast around it. Yep. Okay, cool. I think that's everyone. Any other questions over from TikTok? All right, dudes, that's it. Peace out. Have a beautiful start to your week, and I'll see you soon.